The Mueller report was released this morning, but even before the Mueller report came out, William Barr wanted a couple more minutes in the spotlight, and so he held a press conference. Now remember, William Barr put out the Barr memo about the Mueller report a couple of weeks ago, giving his interpretation, some of which has been borne out by what we found out today, and other parts have not been. But despite having a 2-week lead in terms of his memo, he still wanted to give this press conference 90 or so minutes before anyone would have access to the Mueller report. Many people found that to be very suspicious, and once the actual press conference started, it became more and more suspicious for a couple of different reasons that I'd like to break down. One is that Robert Mueller was not at this press conference. Why do I mention that? Well, William Barr had nothing to do with the putting together of the Mueller report. He redacted it and all of that. It makes no sense for him to opine once again about his interpretations of the report when we already know what he thinks about it. Now, if he was to include Robert Mueller or anyone from the Mueller team, okay, maybe it would make sense that they would want to get out in front of the release of the report. Absent Mueller or anyone from his team, it seems like what I think it is objectively, it is PR done by a loyalist of Donald Trump who wants to once again determine what the narrative is going to be. Now, thankfully, I don't think that it worked in this case, because even as his press conference was ending, we'd already had more credible reporting about what was going to come out in the Mueller report, and then the report dropped, and very quickly the headlines switched over to that. So I still have some criticisms of the Barr press conference I want to talk about, because I think it's important in how we interpret the Mueller report, and then we will turn to that. So first of all, he revealed that he gave advance copies of the Mueller report to the White House. Now, he said a couple of weeks ago that he would not do that, but he did. Why did he do that? Is it because it's in the best interests of the country, in the best interests of the people to understand what the report represents? No, of course not. It is to allow them to craft their response. And we know that Rudy Giuliani planned to put out a 30 or 40 page a response to the report, again, that they say fully exonerates them. And it sure helps to have a couple of extra days to do that when you have been given a copy of the report before the American people or any of our elected representatives actually have one. So that's awesome. He did reveal that there were 10 episodes of potential obstruction of justice, which we're going to break down in just a little bit. But his argument as to why there will not be any charges for obstruction of justice coming from the Department of Justice, that was really entertaining. I don't know, maybe you saw it, but he basically said that because Donald Trump was so frustrated by the ongoing investigation, when he would lash out doing things that seemed sort of obstruction-y, that was just him being frustrated with the process. And because there's not a corrupt motive, there's just the fact that he has the emotional stability of an ill-tempered 3-year-old, you can't actually say that he obstructed justice. He was just triggered, that's all. This is almost officially the snowflake defense for the president. And in the future, if you plan on being president and you're going to attempt to obstruct justice, just make sure that you whine a lot while doing it, and then you will be free from any legal consequences for what you have done. Additionally, Barr says that you can't consider it to be obstruction of justice because the White House fully cooperated with the investigation, which is really interesting considering that Donald Trump never testified during the investigation when he's the principal person with information to provide about not only a lot of things that were going on during the campaign and afterward, but Donald Trump's frame of mind during those times. We never had any access to that because Donald Trump wouldn't testify, and we know at the time from leaks from inside of the White House that the reason he wouldn't testify is his team was terrified that if he sat down in front of Mueller, he would certainly perjure himself. Now, all of what I just said, that is full cooperation with the investigation according to William Barr. Now, let's see. The emotional stability thing. Oh, also very important. There's no evidence from either what Barr said or my initial look over the Mueller report that they in any way looked into past financial crimes, money laundering, ties to organized crime, any of that sort of broader umbrella stuff that might possibly explain why Russia would be interested in Donald Trump or would themselves be crimes that could be investigated. There's no evidence that any of that was actually looked into or that if it was, it made it into the actual report. And what is also interesting about what Barr said is what Barr didn't say, because he repeatedly said no collusion. I think he said it 4 times, which is interesting because in the report, Mueller specifically lays out why he does not use the term collusion. He uses the term coordination and conspiracy, which are actual legal terms. Barr chose to use the terms that Donald Trump likes, not the terms that the Mueller report actually includes, which is certainly significant. And in his summary of that report, what he didn't mention is all of what actually came out of the report, which is important information from the point of view of Paul Manafort and Cohen and all of the others that were either indicted or charged or eventually pled guilty or are already serving time. From Barr's point of view, if you were to just watch this and you hadn't been following the news for the past few years, you would think that nothing came of this, which we know, of course, to be a lie. So thankfully, people are not just going to pay attention to Barr in his press conference. Hopefully, they will also take a look at the report.
Thank you very much for watching this clip from the Damage Report. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube to get notifications of our new videos. And of course, you can catch the full Damage Report live every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on TYT Network on YouTube TV.